This is a 1968 BMW R50/2. It was owned by a friend of mine. He bought it new in 1968, rode around for a while, had it in his basement for a while, and I decided that this year I would take him up on his offer to let me buy it. So I drove out to New Hampshire and fixed it up and got it running and rode it partway back, and then had trouble on the road and had to put it in a U-Haul and get it all the way back home. So today, I'm going to try to figure out what went wrong and see if I can get it running again. I actually expect if I kicked it over right now, it would run. Every time I have kicked it over, it has started when cold. It seems like the issues really develop when it's warm. So that might be a tuning thing. That might be a something isn't lubricated right thing. I don't know yet. I'm gonna take a look at what I have and see if I can figure it out. Hang out with me for a little while, and hopefully by the end of this video, you will see me kick it over and hear it run. My original suspicions were about fueling, because we had some trouble with the petcock and the fuel filters and all that kind of stuff. And it seemed like modifying the fuel air mixture solved the issues, but I'm also wondering about spark and how healthy it is. So I think first I'm going to pull the spark plugs and see what they look like. And then I might also pull the front cover and see what the points and the coil look like. And we'll go from there. Okay, that means it's time to show off one of the cool features of this bike. And that is the toolkit, which is in this cool locked compartment. Ta-da. The original toolkit was still at the bike. I was very excited about that, especially because it has things like the feeler gauges for the valves and whatnot. So, let's start with, that's tight on there, so that's good. Let's pull the cap, and is it this one? That feels pretty good. Are these loose? Kind of, yeah. That's what I found the last time when I was checking these, was that I could undo these by hand even though I had torqued them down with a bar. So I'm wondering if we kind of lose compression when that happens. But this spark plug actually looks decent. I feel like I might want to leave this loose and actually check spark in a second. So I'm not going to screw this back in yet. I'm just going to pop it in there to hold it. That spark plug's not tight in there at all, I can tell. It's going to take me a little tool just to get it, but yeah, that was... Huh. Why are these spark plugs coming out? Oh, that one is completely black. So much carbon all over it. Okay, what does that mean? Here, I'll show you this one. There you go. Completely black. I think that means, well, let me double check what that means. Carbon deposits. Dry, sooty deposits indicate a rich mixture or weak ignition. Causes misfiring, hard starting, and hesitation. That sounds exactly like the problems I'm having. Make sure the plug has the correct heat range. Check for a clogged air filter or problem in the fuel system or engine management system. Also check for ignition system problems. I wouldn't at all be surprised if we have a rich mixture. Mostly because I'm following general guides for setting mixture and don't really have any measurements other than it sounds like it's running okay. And also, when I was having problems that seemed like they were heat related, I have heard advice before that running the engine a little richer helps manage heat, or specifically running it too lean makes it hotter. So when I was adjusting things, if I had a choice, I was adjusting toward the richer end. That might have been a mistake. I just need to correct that. I think the main thing I need to correct is the fact that the spark plugs seem to be loosening. It wouldn't at all surprise me if we're losing some compression because the spark plugs have loosened. And once we lose compression, then the fuel air mixture could be totally wrong because it'd be sucking air through there, not exhausting correctly, not combusting correctly because the compression isn't there, all those things. I think the things to do are clean off the spark plugs, check what spark looks like, reinstall them, making sure they're good and tight, and then mostly playing with the mixture. I am going to, after I check the spark, I'm going to have another look at the points and the coil, just because the points looked great, actually, but the coil did look old, and I just want to see if there's any obvious new wear to it. After those things, if I can get it running, I'm pretty sure what I want to do is check the timing. I expect static timing is fine, just because it was set up and hasn't been modified, but I wouldn't be surprised if advanced timing is wrong because of lubrication issues on the advanced unit. So let me start by cleaning off the spark plugs and we'll see where we get. It's an obvious carbon problem. To get this stuck in there. Wait for a second. These each grounded. It's power. There. Alright. I don't know how healthy this spark is, but we do have spark in both cylinders. I think we can go ahead and put them back in for now and move on to checking the coil. Obviously the coil is also fine because it is producing spark. I just want to see if it has any obvious, like, it's not healthy and might not produce spark well in other forms. Let's also check compression here. On the left cylinder, I have positive compression. Positive. Positive for sure. Positive on the right cylinder as well. So we're probably good. We definitely have compression. I don't know what the measurement is, but I can feel it against my finger. It is sealing and it's pushing and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to worry too much about the valves at the moment. So let's put the spark plugs back in. And then we will, given that they haven't seized, I feel like it's kind of almost silly to put anti-seize on them. Like, they're doing the opposite of seizing. They are in fact coming out, but I'm hoping this is going to help me get them in there well and keep the ground between the threads, well attached, so that poor grounding is not the problem with poor spark if we end up with any sort of poor spark. All right, that's seated, up, and tight. Let's see what is left in tightening here. Oh, lots. That's a lot past what I thought was hand tight. Okay. I'm just worried there might be crud in those threads or something. That might mean that I never really got these tight, you know. It felt seated but didn't actually do anything. But they're in there now. I'll put the caps back on. So, the coil's behind here, and getting this front bit off requires removing this. I should also undo the battery because the terminals in there can short, and shorting them is very, very, very bad. So I'm going to start with that, and that requires taking the seat off. Pull the seat off. Ta-da! Battery terminal. I can't short anything, and then I'm sure I need one or more of these. All right, what size are these? 10s? They're 10s, isn't it? It's just more or less pops out. There's a little detent or something. Yeah. Okay, so what do we see? That coil doesn't look amazing, but honestly, I don't see anything new weird with it. Okay, so there's also a spec for how far these little points are supposed to be from there. But this is the advanced mechanism that I was worried about. And how is it feeling today? I should over to just a little bit. Man, it does feel sticky, I gotta say. I wonder if I can get some lubrication on that. It's not too bad. These points, honestly, these points still look great. I'm not gonna worry about them. Let's check the spark gap and try to lubricate this stuff. Check the safety spark gap between the high tension terminals on the ignition coil and the ground tips. The gap must be between 10 to 11 millimeters. If it is not, carefully bend the tips with a spark plug gapper. So what I found was this left one was more like 12 to 13 millimeters, so I'm bringing it up to spec, and we'll see what happens after that. That seems like it's right at 11. That we're going to go perfect. So now we are going to try to grease the points and the advance. Let's see what I have to do. So there's a little felt thing under here I need to grease, and then this, there's supposed to be a thing somewhere that I can add a little grease to. So I probably don't have the right grease. I'm just going to use some plain machine grease that I do have. There. have greased the advanced unit. I'm going to put this front cover back on and then set the mixture screws to where they're supposed to be to start and get it started. It's mine here, and this is a little tricky because there's some things that have to line up, like this pin has to go in this hole. You don't want to pinch any wires, of course. So we come up, and I have to remember where. Right, so that goes on the inside of that. That's what I confused last time. That's why it was so tricky. That feels like we're on there. That felt pretty good. Good. Both those, I think. All right. Now, and we'll get the battery on. Okay, battery's on. For now, let's get the seat back on. So, first we have to split these into the spots. That's the right side. Let's get the mixtures tuned to the starting values. So what I'm doing is, this is the fuel air mixture screw. It has a lock nut on it and a place for a screwdriver to go. What most people suggest is 1 1/2 turns out from bottom. So I'm going to try to get this nut backed off so I can actually get to that point. Alright, that should be enough. So we're going all the way to the bottom. It's there. Okay, so the chip part is there, so we're going to go 1, 2 1/2. So that's very loosely secure. I'm going to go do the same on the other side, and we'll see where we go from there. Very loosely secure. Okay, that is everything reset. Apologies for the increased noise, but I want airflow around me. So that this doesn't overheat, so the exhaust doesn't build up in the garage, all those good things. So doors open now, I've got some fans on. They're blowing some air. I might have to turn them up later, but let's see if this will start. We've got spark plugs back on, everything's hooked back up. We're going to turn the fuel on to regular. I'm going to watch. We'll fill up the filters. There's fuel in there. Very good. We've been kicking this over a little bit, so I'm not worried about there being oil in the head. That should be fine already. We have gas. I'm going to give these just 1/1000. 1/1000. That one's flooded already, I can tell. It's actually dripping. Maybe I should do something about that before we do anything else. Off. Turn this on. Give it a little crack. What I'm going to do is let it run the carburetor to empty. Just to make sure we're resetting the flow so I can see what's going on with that overflow. There it's coming out of gas. Excellent. Good. Okay, so those carburetors should be empty now. So we can double check that those floats are sitting down and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, I suspected one kick and this would go. Let's open this carburetor back up and see what the float's doing. So this one is also just barely floating in some gas. This one's actually floating just a little bit more, maybe. So, looks like this side used a little less gas. We're going to do the same thing now. We're going to take this off, look through the seat. We're going to try not to get too much gas in our mouths. Just make sure that's clear. Knees down. I'm just gonna deal with it for now because it does seem like this side's getting gas. Actually, this side's been getting better gas than the other side the whole time we've been playing with it. So I'm not really that worried about this side. I can see fuel in that filter. Okay. So actually, first thing to do is turn the gas on and see if the carb's still working. So let's do that. Got fuel on. I don't think I see anything on this side. Which sides are also looking okay, I think we fixed the leaks. I think we might have just been stuck in the seats or something. Let's see if we can get this started again. On. So as you can see, it's trying. Trying really hard. Yes. It's starting to sound better. So it runs. I'm gonna get tuned up. I'm gonna take it for a ride. See how it feels actually moving, actually supplying power to the ground. Get all the tools packed away. Okay, here we go. Fuel on. Key on. Top dead center. It starts, it runs. It doesn't like to run fast. So I think that's probably either a clog in the main jet or a problem with the spark advance. More stuff to debug, but it does run, it does ride. I just put on 17 miles. Went down around town and came back. So, hooray, it works. And now it's just keeping on doing more maintenance on it. Thanks for watching.